Hi, I'm Christy. Today I want to jump into looking for or finding local support groups. So as we begin to look for places that we can find support, I realize that this can also be a really overwhelming task. You're not always sure where to look. You realize that you have to reach out time and time again for another thing. And that means you also have to put yourself out there over and over again. It can be so draining. But I also believe that it's an incredibly important piece to put into place, because it might even be the difference between thriving and burning out. Now, many people think of local support groups when they think of developing this kind of a network in their lives. And there's a lot of wisdom to this. It's a place where you can discover real people and meet with them face to face. It provides regular contact with the same group of people. It can give you a little bit of respite or a break from your caregiving responsibilities. And it may even provide potential caregivers for your loved one when you have an appointment or a meeting. It's also a place where you can develop new friendships with people who understand your life. Now, many of these groups are developed around a specific diagnosis, like Down syndrome or cerebral palsy or autism, something along those lines. Now, this means that all members typically face similar challenges and issues, and it helps you realize you're not alone, and it may be a place where you can get good ideas on how to deal with or how to address certain challenges or problems that you might be having. Now, if your loved one doesn't have what I call a nice, neat diagnosis, it can be harder to find this kind of a group. It's one of the main downsides of local groups. But some areas may have, I'll call it a generic support group that could be a great alternative for you. And this is actually where I found myself. AJ does have a cerebral palsy diagnosis, but it doesn't have a major impact on his life. And there's no local CP group in our area. So we went a different route. We'll get to that in a minute. When I think of places to look to try and find these kind of support groups, I have a few ideas. Back in the Paralyzed No More series, in several of the posts, I listed different places that you could go to try and find organizations that offer the services in your area. And I think these same offices may be able to give you an idea of where to look for support groups as well. In the blog post for this week, you can find it at havenofhopeforme.com. This originally posted in February of 2019. So in there, I linked to specifically the intro post to the Paralyzed No More series. But then a little bit further down, I also linked to the individual posts where I listed these different places that you could look. So a conglomerated list looks something like this. You might check your local school district, or if your area has multiple districts, check with each of them. Specifically with the special ed facilitator or teacher or department. Your local college or community college probably has a disability office that might be able to point you in the right direction. You can also check with vocational training locations or your local work assistance office. Medicaid, low-income housing, and welfare offices are also options for checking out. Finally, I would say doctor's offices or therapy offices may also have a list of support groups available in your area. Now, taking a little bit of a twist, you might also check for local organizations that work with special needs, things like Goodwill or Easter Seals or the United Way. Now, if none of these work out or you exhaust that list, there's a few other thoughts that I've had. First of all, ask your friends. They may have a friend who has somebody with special needs in their life, and they might be able to point you in the right direction. I also think that local adoption or foster care agencies may have lists of support groups in your area. Or sometimes there are offshoot organizations that will support families who are either in the adoption process or doing foster care. And they might have other ideas that could help you as well. My last idea would be to check with local churches, especially larger ones in your area. They may have a class or a group that works specifically with those with special needs. Now for us, as I mentioned before, we've had a hard time finding a support group that we've found helpful and comfortable with. We did go to several meetings of one for parents of preemies shortly after AJ came home from the hospital, but it was a really struggling group and it wasn't real helpful to us. So instead, we turned to our church. When AJ was in probably mid-elementary school, I started a class that was designed specifically for kids with special needs, and he had great success in that class. I wish it was still going for him. For my husband and I, we turned to friends that we developed in our church. And these were friends that get special needs and were really able to be there to encourage us and to accept AJ for who he is. Now I realize that that's probably not an appropriate or a possible option for everybody, but it's worked well for us. So my question for you this week is this: have you found a strong support network in your area and for you? Was it an easy process? Is it something that you need to strengthen in your life? I'd love to hear what your experiences are. You can leave me a comment below or over on my blog. Again, that's at www.havenofhopeforme.com. This originally posted in February of 2019. As always, I'd appreciate it if you'd share this with anybody you think would find it beneficial. I'd love to help as many families as I possibly can. Over on the website, you can also sign up for my email list. This will tell you about all new content as it's released. On the right-hand side, there's also a place that you can sign up for my new course that'll be coming out later this year. It'll be all about the transitions, going a little bit deeper. Signing up there will give you all course notifications as they're available, as well as telling you about new content as it's released. I'm grateful for the friends that I've developed here in my area that have become my support network, because they prove to me once again that life is good and there is never a dull moment.